The Creepercast presents The Walking Dead Live Fancast, Episode 5. So Rick has resorted to begging. All right, anyway, so, they get to the CDC place. Interesting comments that we got in the chat room. One person asking if he's making a super zombie, which, from the accident, he may end up inadvertently. We know that whatever he did burned through his gloves. So he may end up being a super zombie, or he may now be immune to the zombie stuff. We don't know. From the looks of it, though, it looks like he was trying to make a cure. Another person posted, that I don't think it's so much Resident Evil as it is I Am Legend, which I Am Legend is, where Dr. Neville was trying to make a cure for the zombie stuff. And that's what I think he was trying to do is he's kind of the last person left there. So knowing that he was the last person, he was working on his own to make the what's it called? The cure.
Yeah. Cure's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would hope. I do think it's interesting that he's isolated, like Aldo himself.
Yep, hold on. They're showing clips from the next one.
A chance.
All right.
That's asking an awful lot these days.
What's the point? If we were infected, we'd all be running a fever.
Andrea?
The French. They were the last ones to hold out as far as I know.
So it's not just here. There's nothing left anyway.
For a longer look at the next episode, go to amcthewalkingdead.com.
Okay, anyway, you were saying?
I thought it was interesting that he was... See, I'm kind of going to have to agree to a certain extent with Zach Fast, I believe is his name there in the chat room. And because it did kind of have that Resident Evil feel, I mean, you got the one lone guy that's trapped in this building, and he's all, he's trying to find supposedly the cure is what we're led to believe, but it could be a little bit more than that. I want to choose to believe that it's leaning more towards the I Am Legend thing, but I do find it interesting that he's trapped in this, basically trapped because it's all living dead around him.
Right. Yeah.
And,
go ahead.
And he's trying to, he was using the freshest he could find. He had the freshest specimen he could get a hold of, and of course that got ruined. He was recording or reporting to somebody else. We don't know whether or not that somebody else even actually exists. He's not sure if that somebody else even exists. So I find that whole twist kind of an interesting way of handling that.
Yeah, I agree. I like how they came back from the break with that, because when it first came back on, I was looking at it going, what the heck is going on? And they did a great job with that. As far as him being in there, I mean, that adds a whole new level to this, because, it very well could have been, I don't know much about, cell, what it meant when he was looking through the microscope with the cells and what they were doing. Whether it was actually showing that it didn't work or it did work, and then all of a sudden he dumped it. What it does tell me is don't work around stuff like that when you're sleepy.
Yeah. That much does seem pretty obvious.
So we have kind of we always talk about the power struggles in this, and we really have right now where Rick is, kind of off the deep end with a lot of stuff, rather than listening to even his wife or anybody else about what to do, man. It's like he gets zoned in and gets tunnel vision on stuff.
Yeah, he's getting desperate, isn't he? I mean, it's just, I don't think he's wrong in the decisions he makes, because like you even said, keeping on moving at that point was a good idea. Which I believe that, I mean, staying there, they're definitely, more zombies are going to come eventually, because they just got attacked at that point.
Right.
So either they would have to come up with better fortifications or move on and find a better place to be fortified in. Going to the CDC isn't a bad move, not from the standpoint of that they might find a cure there, but we saw what the building looks like. I mean, it's a virtual fortress.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it wasn't a bad call. But it's just that the steps that it takes or the means that Rick has to go through in order to convince everybody else to do it is what's getting kind of ridiculous. And I believe it's mostly because Shane is too busy trying to be, like he wants to be the instant decision maker. And
Shane's been used to up until Rick got there. Shane was the decision maker.
Well, right, but he was also getting pretty complacent. I mean, where they were next to that lake was pretty mellow. I mean, they didn't have a lot to be concerned with up until the point that those zombies appeared.
Right.
Or walkers. Sorry. I'm going to try to use the vocabulary. But up until the point that those walkers appeared, they really didn't have anything to worry about. I mean, everything seemed to be going really good. And then that happened. It kind of like ripped Shane right out of his element.
Right. We have a couple people in the chat room, so if there's anything that you guys would like to mention, go ahead and, you can call us, definitely. But if you don't want to do that, go ahead and type it in. I have the chat room up in front of me. I'm sure Jeff does too. And, we can talk a little bit about your 2 cents, what you thought about anything that we're saying or anything that you saw on the show. What, as far as the movement, though, them going to the CDC, wouldn't it make much more sense, though, to try to go more rural? Try to get away from all of that and try to find, some spot that, isn't...
Yeah, I saw that, too.
I have to say to guest 6, I love you. Okay. Not only this, I also run a Lost podcast called Lost Unanswered because I just can't let Lost be done. And so he wrote in and said, definitely the best Lost replacement. And yeah, definitely agree.
Fast is in on that one too.
But going to someplace rural to me seems like the more logical choice. They've already tried going to Atlanta, where there was supposed to be the military there to protect people. Well, that fell through. So what made Rick think that the CDC would actually be there and standing, and had that guy not been inside, had everybody have died inside, they would have been stranded and, with a bunch of walkers around them at night.
Well, that's another thing, too, though, that everybody has to remember with Rick, that it's played really well for him through the first 4 episodes. It wasn't until this episode that it actually got brought into question, is that Rick was a guy who went with gut feelings. He made whatever move felt needed to be made, and it usually paid off for him in the end. Now, from what I understand in the comic books, the Rick that we see and the Rick in the comic book are 2 different people, because this Rick is a lot softer, a lot more, like you said, Rick, he's begging now kind of thing. Well, the Rick in the comic book, from what I understand, wasn't a beggar. He just made decisions and did them. And if everybody didn't like him, well, too bad for them. That's the way Rick is trying to be, except he's also trying to be, all in touch with his emotions and such. I would love to hear anybody else's opinion on this one in the meantime.
Yeah,
but I think that's really what's happening, is that he was just really on this thing that, well, the CDC, even after they dropped Jem off, which was one of the whole reasons for even going to the CDC, he was still all about getting to the CDC. I think the point isn't whether or not he would have failed. The point is that it worked. And that's the way it always happens with Rick so far.
So basically what you're saying is, Rick, as far as a hero, is a hero because of luck.
It does seem to be that way. I mean, I don't know. It depends on...
honestly, going with, the Lost reference that, was made earlier, if those of you that watch Lost know that he's very similar to Jack's character. Jack has always kind of been the leader, the de facto leader in Lost. But rather than following logic or, following what people want, he always just kind of follows his gut. And, probably about half the time it works out. To where, Rick, it works out, so far every time. But, I have a hard time, with him as far as being the what am I trying to say? The leader, the hero, because, talk about a broken hero, we've heard of, dark heroes and all this stuff like that. But he's almost like a broken hero now because, it's like he doesn't want to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say a broken hero. I mean, it's just he's become a desperate hero.
Yeah, I guess desperate is a good one.
And I think it's only because of Shane though, because you have the power struggle going on between Shane and with him and Shane Shane is trying to be Mr. Decisive, but the way he handles it is with this bold-headedness that it's hard to explain the way I see it, because you have this desperate hero and then you have the guy that's just like no we have to do this because I'm Billy Badass, so let's do what I say. And, Rick, you're losing it kind of thing. I did want to point out that Zach Fast made an interesting comment in here, and I know that's what made you pause to
yeah, it is.
Was I guess breathing in the smoke from the burning zombies doesn't affect anyone. That's a good point.
So yeah, send in your info to us on what you'd like to see us do, and any suggestions. They can be as bad as you want them to be, and we'll consider just about anything to keep this podcast going until next year. And you can call us. We'd love to hear from you at 206-984-9752. If you want to write us, you can do so by emailing us at thecreepercast@gmail.com. You can also interact with us. Where can they do that, Jeff?
Good night, Guest 6. They can do that at, they can interact with us, via Twitter. They can stalk us, twitter.com/Creepercast. Facebook, I'm on there as often as I can be, given the job situation and such. But everything that has to do with Creepercast ends up getting posted on Facebook in some way or form. And then, of course, the Creepercast.com website, the greatest website that's ever existed on the planet, if I do say so myself, even though I've had nothing to do with it.
Right. You have some stuff to do with it, sure. You put up film reviews and stuff. So, those are the ways to get a hold of us. So, in that, I am going to start the music.
All right. Good night. Good night. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you next week.
All right.
Bring your friend.
All right. This one was kind of rocky, but we were able to get through it. So, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you, Jeff, for having another great podcast.
Down!